He survived 2 wars, buried comrades, and wore his country's scars with pride. But nothing prepared him for the cruelty of the teenagers who shoved him into the street like trash. What they didn't know was that this man wasn't just a veteran. He was a brother to thousands, and in less than 20 minutes, those brothers came. Not with weapons, but with a force far more powerful, honor, unity, and an unshakable code that says, "You don't touch one of ours." What happened next shook the entire town and changed the teenagers' lives forever. He was 90 years old, frail in body but indomitable in spirit, wearing his old faded Marine Corps cap like a crown as he shuffled along Main Street using a walking stick carved from a branch of cherry wood that had marched through 2 wars with him, in Korea and Vietnam. His name, Walter Briggs, almost forgotten by the world, but remembered by those few who had seen true valor. But today, as he limped past the rowdy laughter near the gas station, the group of teenagers barely noticed his presence until he became a target of mockery. The oldest among them, a boy with tattoos on his neck and venom in his voice, sneered and called out, "Hey, old man! You think you are some kind of war hero or just a ghost waiting to drop dead?" And before Walter could process the words, another boy, bigger, meaner, stuck his foot out, and Walter, caught mid-step, stumbled forward with a soft grunt, his cane clattering to the pavement, his body striking the sidewalk, his cheeks scraping against the cement as passing cars slowed but didn't stop. And the boys burst into cruel laughter, filming it on their phones as if the fall of a hero was entertainment. One girl even shouting, "Tag the Marines page on Insta! Maybe they'll salute this." As Walter lay groaning, blood dripping from his temple, his eyes cloudy with the betrayal of a world he'd once bled for. And across the street, inside a modest barber shop, a young man named Corporal Ryan Morales, home on leave, still sharp in posture and spirit, watched in frozen disbelief through the glass. The haircut he'd come in for, forgotten as he stood up. Eyes locked on the group now scattering down the block, with triumphant smirks. Unaware that in less than 20 minutes their world would tilt in ways they could never imagine, because Ryan was not alone. Across the block, in the bakery, Sergeant Lisa Hutchins was placing a cupcake order for her nephew's birthday when she heard the commotion, and beside the diner window, Gunnery Sergeant Dominic Reyes had just finished lunch with 2 fellow Marines from his unit. And in a moment of uncanny fate, a network of veterans and active duty Marines were all within 1 square mile, drawn unknowingly by the gravitational pull of one old man's quiet dignity, now smeared across the street like garbage. And Ryan stepped outside, his voice cutting through the air with ice. They pushed Mr. Briggs, and Hutchins, who had once served as a combat medic, dropped her cupcake order and sprinted across the road without hesitation, while Reyes and his companions were already halfway there. Because when you're a Marine, there's no such thing as off-duty, when your own is bleeding in the street. And as the teenagers huddled by the alley, giggling over their phones, unaware of the storm that was about to descend, the barbershop door swung open, and Morales was already dialing a number, the Marines' informal local emergency line, and said just 2 words, "Briggs down," and it was enough, because that name still meant something. Walter Briggs, the man who once dragged 3 wounded soldiers through enemy fire with a bullet in his own leg, the man who refused a medical discharge just to finish one last deployment, the man whose photograph still hung in the VFW hall next to a folded flag and citations for bravery. And while the world outside saw a doddering old man with too many medals and not enough relevance, the Marines remembered, and within minutes, tires squealed as vehicles appeared like ghosts out of thin air. Not military tanks, no pickup trucks, motorcycles, sedans, but every one of them carrying men and women in casual clothes whose bearing and presence screamed discipline, honor, and fury. And as Walter was gently lifted by Hutchins, her fingers trembling as she pressed gauze to his temple and whispered, "You're not alone, sir. The teens looked up to find themselves surrounded by a growing circle of hardened faces, none of them shouting, none of them making a scene, just standing quiet and terrible like the calm before a battle. And it was Dominic Reyes who finally spoke, voice low and deliberate. "Did you think this country forgot its warriors? Did you think you could touch one of ours and laugh?" And one boy stuttered, "We didn't mean it, it was just a joke," but the video on his phone said otherwise. And Ryan took the device from his hand, played the clip on loud, the laughter, the comments, the sound of a body hitting pavement, and the air grew still. The kind of stillness that comes right before a thunderstorm tears the sky open. And just as one of the Marines moved to confront the teens, Walter raised his hand from where he sat propped against a backpack, blood drying on his wrinkled face, and said softly, "No, no violence, no, that's not who we are." And that simple sentence did more to shame those teenagers than any punch could have, because suddenly they weren't looking at a frail old man. They were seeing a warrior who Dad walked through hell and still had the strength to forgive them, and that kind of courage was alien to them. It made them uncomfortable, made one of them, the youngest, drop to his knees and begin to cry, whispering, "I'm sorry. I didn't know." And that's when Walter said something no one expected. "Then learn, don't run, learn." And over the next few hours, as the crowd swelled and police arrived to document the incident, what could have been another viral clip of cruelty became something far more powerful, because the Marines didn't just scold the boys. They stayed, sat with them, told them stories of Walter's past, showed them medals, explained the cost of every freedom they took for granted. And one by one, the teens changed. Not all at once, not like magic, but visibly. Their shoulders dropped, their eyes no longer defiant but wide with understanding. And Walter, ever the leader, even cracked a weak smile and said, "You boys better be Marines someday if you're gonna make up for this." And something in his tone made it sound more like a challenge than a request. And by sunset, when the street finally cleared, and the ambulance took Walter to be checked at the hospital, with Morales riding beside him, hand gripping his shoulder like a brother, the teens were still there, sweeping the sidewalk, replaying the moment that had changed everything. And weeks later, one of them, yes, the youngest, walked into a recruitment center with his head high and asked how long it would take to earn a place among the Marines, and the recruiter, looking at the boy's trembling hands, smiled and said, "It starts with respect." And the boy nodded because he'd learned the hard way what that word meant when he saw a 90-year-old veteran, shoved into the street, bring the entire brotherhood of the Marines to his defense in less than 20 minutes, not with rage, but with quiet, unshakable dignity.